Hi, I'm Max Walker&Williams, and today we are talking about the crypto categories. I don't know why, I absolutely love saying that. Maybe it's the alliteration. I love saying the crypto categories. We're also going to be talking about the coin value calculator, or the CVC. Coin value calculator is a term that I've phrased whilst making this video, making this board, and the crypto categories. So love both of those, coin value calculator and the crypto categories. Let's jump straight into it. As always, thank you ever so much for watching. I really appreciate your support. I really do. And if you're not on the Twitters, you need to be on Twitter at @MWalker&Williams. It's where it's all happening. Another thing as well, NFTLC, non-fungible token meetup, London City. It's the biggest and the best NFT expo / meetup in Europe, and it is happening on Saturday the 17th of September 2022. If you own the right Walker&Williams partnership program NFT, you automatically have free entry, and you might even have free VIP entry to NFTLC. So if you have bought one of the Walker&Williams partnership program NFTs, check to see if you've got the membership to NFT, the ticket to NFTLC. If you haven't, get in touch with @Utopian Labs on Twitter and they'll sort you out. Have a look at the website. I'll put all the links to everything I'm talking about in the description below. So you can just go below this video, have a look at the description, and you'll see Utopian Labs website, their Twitter handle, my Twitter handle, NFTLC's website. It's very cool. Hedera Hashgraph is confirmed as one of them, the title sponsor for this year, for 2022. So really excited for that. But we've got many other names that we're in talks with at the moment. You know, some really big names that are going to be sponsoring it too, and showing and talking at the event. So it's going to be really cool. It's not a Hedera echo chamber. I love Hedera, you know, everyone knows that, but I love other projects too. You know, I do like Ripple and other projects too. I'm a big fan of Solana and what they're doing with the NFT space. I think it's amazing. And a lot of the other projects too on the other cryptos. I love those too. Block Assets, fantastic project. Know those guys personally from Liverpool. Great group of guys. Fantastic project. And what they're doing for NFTs and cryptographic industry as a whole is amazing in spreading the good word. So it's going to be an amazing event. Loads of different talented artists are going to be presenting. There's going to be developers, investors. So it's a really good thing. Check it out in London. It's in the vaults in the Banksy Tunnel. So the cutting edge of cool. Okay, so let's just jump straight into the video. Okay, so in the future, I believe that I know that unless it ends for some reason, like a meteor hitting the Earth or quantum computers destroying everything, then except for some sort of seismic event, that the cryptographic industry is going to mature and it's going to settle down. And then things are gonna sort of pigeonhole and partner off, and they're gonna separate and become niche industries within the overall industry. So for example, with software, you're gonna have software that's specialist for banking, software that's specialist for editing videos, like the YouTubes, have software that's specialized for teaching or whatever it may be, healthcare. And there's some really big players that cross different platforms, sub-industries, but on the whole, there's sort of like 10 different go-to producers in most industries, and then the 80-20 principle applies. So we'll get it straight into it and I'll explain everything I've just said. So I think that when this happens, and I'll come to this in a second, the best way that I'm going to be working out if a coin or a project is going to be a good investment is using the coin value calculator. So it's something I invented, I've come up with this, and it's kind of what I'm automatically doing in my head, and I've tried to get that down on paper, so I hope it comes across well. Number one, which category is the cryptocurrency or project in? So these are just a few examples. So one-use projects. So you're going to have a name here, a name here, a name here, and so on. And you're going to have, these are going to be one-use projects. Now, some of these uses are going to be absolutely massive. But what I mean by that is, for example, I'm not saying this is the case, but as an example, eCommy is a fantastic cryptographic technology that I've talked about before. Way back when the channel very first started, 12, 13 months ago, I did a video on OMI, and their main and only customer is VV. Now VV is absolutely huge and going from strength to strength, just like I said it would with the collectibles and the NFTs, but the token and the project is for the platform. So they're one and the same. You can't mint on there. It's not open source. You can't do anything. It just exists. You can buy the tokens. You can buy the coins, but that's it. It's not really open source. It's not something that you can build on, and they're not really looking for customers. So they're kind of like the one-use projects. Now, they're not to be ignored because, like I say, a project can be a massive thing. Imagine if there was a cryptographic technology that was built on Hedera, for example, or built on Quant or whatever, a layer 2, built on a layer 1, or a layer 1 built on a layer 0, and that was, its only use case was for the MOD, for the Ministry of Defence in the UK. Well, that's a massive use case. So these are not to be ignored, but they're not the main event. And then we've got healthcare. So you might have Zinfin. I've done a video on them very recently. You could have Zinfin or Hedera and Ripple, and you're going to have sort of, these are the biggest, second biggest, third biggest, fourth biggest, fifth biggest, and you're going to have anywhere between 2 and 3 up to about 10 different categories of big, sort of worth talking about projects in each of these categories. And then there will be loads more, but there'll all be, sort of the 80-20 principle applies. If you're not sure what that is, I'll put a link to the description below on a video I did about the 80-20 principle, and I talk about that quite in depth in the future of crypto, the video I did. So we're going to have, for example, and again, don't jump on me because I'm just using random names. So you've got Zinfin as the number one healthcare provider technology software, and they're number one. They're the go-to for the NHS in the UK, who's the third or fourth largest employer in the world. Obamacare in America or whatever, and they're the go-to guys. And they'll have anywhere between 50 and 80% of the market because of the 80-20 principle. And then these guys will have 5%, 5%, 5%, and then the remaining 10 to 15% will be split amongst another 10 to 15 companies. And then we've got meme coins. So at the moment, meme coins are sort of skyrocketing and then dropping out, skyrocketing and dropping out. And I don't think that's going to go away. I do think that, fads have always been a thing. The miniskirt comes and goes and so on and so forth. So I think fashions, trends, and things, it's just human nature. We pick things up, we get really excited about it, and then we drop it and move on. And although these guys are serving practical purpose and they've got a utility, so they're here for the long run, I do think that meme coins will have their place. And meme coins today are like your Dogecoin, Shiba, Woof coin, Tiki token, which is quite like that, Tiki token. So you'll have these kind of meme coins that sort of half pretend to be serious, but have no real utility behind them, and are quite often started as a joke. And they'll have their place, and this is kind of more like and I mean this in the most respectful way possible, but this will be more like the gambling section of the industry, which is where kind of like people go bust and make millions over here overnight. Then you've got the financial projects, which is obviously a massive one. It's probably the biggest one that I can think of, is the financial projects. So you'll have financial cryptographic technologies, and their obvious go-to would be Ripple, XRP, stuck in the mud at the moment, but if and when they beat the SEC, then obviously there'll be free reign to go about their business. And their dream is to be sort of the software, the go-to platform for financial transactions worldwide. So financial projects, Ripple will probably be number one, and then Hedera number 2, Quant, DAG, Zinfin. So you've got all these different projects, and these guys are the financial powerhouses. And the other thing that's worth mentioning is you will have some projects. Now, this I also believe to be true, is that Ripple is more of a one-trick pony. I'm not saying it is a one-trick pony, but it's more of a one-trick pony than the likes of Hedera Hashgraph or Quant, because they have many strings on their bow. And there's pluses and minuses to both, by the way, so I'm not saying it's necessarily a good thing, but so Ripple are like the go-to financial. Hedera, big in the financial world too, but Hedera also pretty big in NFTs, or certainly trying to be, and so on. So we might see the same names popping up all over the shop. Metaverse, so again, I didn't really have anything in mind specific for that, so I just put Ethereum 2, and there's obviously got a question mark to it because it's, is it ever going to come? But if it ever materializes, Ethereum 2 is probably a pretty good guess for the Metaverse. Solana is obviously a go-to for the Metaverse uses. I put Hedera in there, whatever. So that's kind of, you've got the Metaverse, and then you've got NFT. So Metaverse, NFT, financial, healthcare, one-use projects, meme coins. There is one I'm missing out, which would probably be entertainment. So in entertainment would be like your sports teams and that sort of stuff, cinema experiences, theme parks, and that kind of like just entertainment concerts, so concert tickets and all that kind of thing. So the guys who provide concert tickets, redeemables, and all that kind of stuff for the entertainment industry. So that's probably the only one I would say I'm missing. NFT projects, obviously you go to Solana, Ethereum 2, question mark again. Wax, Ecomi, as I've talked about, Trezos. So, again, these are kind of might be your go-to guys for the NFT projects in the future. So, number one, on your coin value calculator, number one, which category? So obviously, if you're looking at a coin and it's a one-use project coin, or most likely to be a one-use project coin, because some of these projects don't even know they're a one-use project coin. They've got one big customer and they make noises if they're going to do other things, but we all know they're not. So is it a one-use project or is it a financial project? Because you're going to want to give this a mark out of 10. And I would suggest that financial markets would probably be a 10 out of 10 category, and one-use projects, depending on the use, in comparison would probably be a 3 or 4. Meme coins could be a 1, could be a 10, I mean, if it moons, but generally speaking, a 2 or a 3, 2 or 3, 10, 10, Metaverse kind of somewhere in the middle. So which category is your coin in predominantly? Because it may be in more than one, and that's a great thing too, but predominantly which category is your coin in? And then give that a value out of 10. Okay, so number 2, adoption. So it isn't just about which category that the project that you're looking at is in. It's also the number of use cases and the value of those use cases that they have in each of the sectors. So for example, number of use cases would be, okay, well, what are they doing? Are they in the healthcare sector, which is fantastic? We rate that at a 10 in the category section. But within that healthcare, are the use cases, well, within that sector, they look after all the vaccines in transit in America. They look after all the vaccines in transit in Australia. They do all the clocking in and clocking out of personnel in the UK, in the NHS. And so how many use cases are there? Is it just that they've got 10 here and 1 there? Or is it actually just, this is the only one they're in and they only do one thing within that industry? It's pretty important, but there is only one use case. For example, Ripple is in financial projects. Great, 10 out of 10 on category number 1. But in that, they only focus, they're laser focused on being swift. They literally just send money from A to B anywhere in the world, regardless of currency, instantaneously and cheap. Great value in that, and loads of transactions, but only one use case. So you've got to give that a value out of 10. How many use cases have they got within the sector, and what's the value of those use cases? If you said, oh, Hedera is in healthcare, I'd say, okay, great. But that it could be that they're just tracking the delivery of bed sheets. Well, if the bed sheets don't turn up in time, or they go missing, or they're stolen, it's not great, it's an inconvenience, but nobody dies. If you said to me, Hedera are tracking the temperature of Pfizer vaccines, which is exactly what they are doing, then obviously, clearly, the amount of use cases, so the amount of transactions and things is far higher, and the value, most importantly in this one, the value of those use cases is a lot higher. So adoption, give that a score out of 10. Number of transactions. So again, this is another important factor. Number 3 out of 5 in your coin value calculator is the number of transactions. So, are the bed sheets being delivered all at once, or and actually the number of transactions is only 10 a month on the network, or are they tracking individual transactions in contracts, in smart contracts, in NFT sales, in Pfizer vaccines, whatever it may be? We need to know how many transactions are likely to occur on the network in order to give it some sort of score. So number of transactions. So just to recap, we've got which category, very important, which sector are we talking about? Adoption, number of use cases, so how much are they doing in each of the sectors, and the value of each of those use cases. And you give both of those a score out of 10. And the number of transactions, so how many of whatever they're doing are they doing? And you give that a score out of 10. Number 4, tokenomics. So we've looked at what the project is doing, now you've got to look at the project itself. Tokenomics are circulating supply, people behind the project, and those are the kind of videos that I've been doing, Hedera Versus and Zinfin and Quant, and you do your research, you do your due diligence on the project, because it's all very well and good having a really solid solid sector. So the project that I'm looking at is in financial projects. Wow, that's great. They're doing, or they're claiming to be doing, loads of use cases within the financial projects. The value of those are huge. It's people's mortgages or pensions or whatever, or money transactions. The number of transactions, well, they're responsible for all of American banking. So the number of transactions is huge. Wow, that's fantastic. But the tokenomics. So it isn't just the number of tokens or coins available and the value of those, but it's also, for example, the price. So if Bitcoin's $40,000 a coin, can it really go to 100? And if it does, that's double and a half. But could it also go to 10 and that's a quarter, so which is a lot worse, or $5,000 and still be overpriced in some people's minds? So you have to have a look at the tokenomics, and that's where you really need to do your research and check out what the tokenomics of the project are. Are there too many coins in circulating supply? Is there enough liquidity? That's an equally big problem, or can be. Number 5 is confidence. So this is more about the human factor. How confident are you that in the project and everything of the score of the other 4 effectively, what's your confidence, not of the past, but of the future? So are you confident that Hedera is going to keep its contract with the NHS to track COVID vaccines? Are you confident that the use case is sustainable and a good one? Is it a concert that actually it's only a temporary thing and it's not going to come back next year, or they've been banned because of COVID or whatever? If it's financial projects and your token is going to be tracking all of the gun sales in America, well, if they ban guns, your project dies overnight, especially if that's the only use case that it's got. The transactions can be massive, the value could be high because it's very important to know who owns what guns. And the number of use cases is only 1, and then all of a sudden you haven't got the confidence because you hear murmurings that actually guns are going to be made illegal or whatever. So you have to have confidence in the project moving forward. How do you get the confidence? From doing the right due diligence on the numbers 1 to 4. And then you give your confidence out of 10 a score. So then you'll have 5 scores, so it's a total of 50, and you add them all up, and then you've got your buy score. And your buy score is the result of your coin value calculator. So I've done 2 examples here on the corner. Hedera, number 1, which category? Well, at the moment, they're in the financial sector, they're in the healthcare sector, they're in the NFT project in a small way, they're in the metaverse in a small way compared to the others, and they're in the entertainment in a small way in terms of music and things. And those are growing, don't get me wrong, but we've got to do it. We're doing the coin value calculator today based on the information that we have today. So Hedera, number 1 is 10. I would say it's a 10 out of 10 for which sectors it's in. Number 2, so adoption, the number of use cases within those sectors and the value of those use cases. I've given Hedera an 8 out of 10 because there are people in each of the categories. I would say there are projects in each of the categories that are bigger than Hedera. Hedera is in more projects than some of those guys, but those guys might be bigger in this one, but not in this one, and Hedera is. So I've given it an 8 out of 10. I think that's fair. So number 3, number of transactions, and this is where Hedera really comes into its own. I've given it a 10 out of 10, probably the easiest thing to score out of the whole thing with Hedera. Somebody over the weekend was working on the test net, and they racked up 25 million transactions in 24 hours. 25 million transactions in 24 hours. So easy peasy. No issues. The number of transactions Hedera is transacting is amazing, and the potential of the amount of transactions it can do is even better. Number 4, tokenomics. I've given Hedera a 6, despite the fact that I don't really agree that 50 billion coins is too much in some people's minds. I think because the use cases for Hedera means that it warrants, it's going to be such a big project that it warrants and needs that many coins. Having 21 million Bitcoin is more Bitcoin relatively than 50 billion Hedera. Why? Because Bitcoin has got absolutely or next to no use cases. You've never spent a Bitcoin, if you're honest. You've never bought anything with a Bitcoin. You're never going to buy anything with a Bitcoin. You've never sold anything with a Bitcoin, and it's not going to happen. So you've got 21 million useless, and you've got 50 billion absolutely essential for the tracking of Pfizer vaccines. So to me, in my mind, bigger thinking, looking forward to the future, 50 billion Hedera H-bar is less relatively than 21 million Bitcoin, my opinion. But based on the information that we have today, because that is a bit of using assumptions that what Hedera is going to go in the future, and we can only again go off what the information we have today. Based on today, Hedera probably 6 out of 10 on the tokenomics. Number 5, confidence. My confidence, you've probably guessed with Hedera, is 10 out of 10, and it's the project I'm most confident about just because of the governing council and everything else it's got going for it. Then it gives us a total score. You add those up, 10, 10, 10, 30, plus 8, 38, 6, 44. So 44 out of 50. It says really, really strong numbers. And then the other one I did just for my own benefit is Ripple. So number 1, which category? 10 out of 10, because it is in the financial sector, no doubt. Oh, and by the way, when I did this score, I assumed that the Ripple and SEC is over. So it's over, they've either settled or they've won the case, okay? So they haven't lost the case, they've either won or settled. It's the only assumption I've made on this one. So with Ripple, so which category? 10 out of 10 because they're in the financial sector. Number 2, adoption, number of use cases times value. Well, it's going to be 7 out of 10 for me because they are looking to replace global payments, which is fantastic. And I know they're claiming to do other things, but they're not doing them yet. So I've given them a 7 out of 10 on that. Number 3, number of transactions, for the same reasons as number 2, it's a 6 out of 10. Number 4, the tokenomics, far better than Hedera's 6, a 9 out of 10, again, based on what they're doing today. And then number 5, my confidence in Ripple, assuming they've won the case of the SEC, is 9. And it would have been a 10, except you have got these guys like Zinfin coming up and trying to bite at the heels of XRP, and they are taking chunks out of that market. Not a zero-sum game, as I've said before, so they don't have to lose for them to win. There's enough for everyone, but there is just a 1 out of 10 doubt. So that gives Ripple 10, 7, 6, 9, 9, 41 out of 50. So a little bit behind Hedera, only 3 points behind Hedera, so another pretty solid case. Now, you take something like Dogecoin and you run that through this, and it comes out at about 8 out of 10. So that kind of gives you some sort of context of where I'm at. My personal scores, I'm entitled to them. Your scores will be different if you have a bit of fun and run it through. I hope this has helped explain how my mind works when I'm looking at different projects, both when I'm creating the YouTube's videos and also when I'm looking to invest in a project. I hope you found this interesting. Thanks ever so much for watching. I'll see you soon.